talk about kind of the small room effect or strategy. And it's something which is really articulated, I believe, in the book called Small Bets. But it's actually pretty common knowledge among the learning community, the skill community, the development community, that even high profile comedians, people who give HBO specials and speak to enormous, almost arenas full of people, also will go to really small nightclubs, actually much more often than they're on those enormous platforms and stages, to test out their material, to do stuff on a smaller stage to a smaller room. And what's great about that is that is where they have the flexibility, the freedom to just experiment. And I mention this today because it's a useful strategy technique thing to realize of either. If you already have established some audience and some reach on some platform, that there is absolutely still valuable, real utility in picking some other platform that is not your main, that's not your primary, to feel like that's a space where you can still experiment safely, where you can continue to have the same level of explorative freedom as you had when you were before you'd built up that audience. Or secondarily, the other part to that, and there's actually a point I believe from some other book, might have been Rework, but it's basically to celebrate the freedom and the luxury of obscurity. That before your stuff is known, before you have an audience, before you have a reach, before there are people counting on the next thing you'll come out from you to be at a certain quality or scale or style or purpose or whatever, that's actually in many ways a freeing space to be in, as long as you recognize that that is a strength and to fully utilize it to its potential. And, it can seem like a silver lining, and maybe. I mean, it's a little bit like, obviously, the last car in Super Mario Kart gets better items. It gets the blue shell, right? The blue shell takes out the people up front. It's recognizing, okay, well, if I'm in last place, I may as well utilize what advantage that I have for being there. And no matter who's starting out their journey, you always start out at the back of the race in terms of reach, audience, scale, that kind of thing. And so again, to recognize that can be a benefit, that can be an experimental space, that can be an area where you can really try different stuff, go off message, see what resonates. And inevitably you're gathering data. Sometimes the data we're gathering isn't just which get the likes, which get the views, which disproportionately have spikes compared to the others. That can be sometimes assigned to double down, to explore it further, to take it further, to recurate that material into some other kind of product or some other kind of reach, audience, make a talk out of it, give a keynote about it based on things that have done well. It can also be another type of data, which is just feeling out as we talk to other people about it, as we make things in an environment where we feel safer to, miss some shots as we practice. Part of what we're also testing is how it feels when we talk about it, how we feel about it after the fact, having said it. And that's another way we can kind of take our thinking a layer deeper, another step further, because we're no longer recycling the same points in our head. Yeah, so small room effect, celebrating that as an asset, as a benefit, whether you are starting small, whether you have primary presence on some other platform, and then you pick some other platform to be a space where you can still safely experiment and explore things, it can be a benefit. That's all I want to talk about today. Thanks for tuning in.